Today we're taking a look at the MG300 from NUX. Stay tuned. A big hello to all my gear addicted friends out there. I'm Tony. Thank you for joining me for another episode of Addicted to Gear. Today in my hands, I'm holding the NUX MG300. This is a modeling guitar processor and it's a very inexpensive unit. I've been raving about this thing for the last 3 months. I've been actually using it for just about that long right now and I'm really digging it. There's a lot of great sounds to be had with this unit, and the price, you know, what can I say about the price? I mean, it's super affordable. There's really no reason not to pick one of these things up and play around with it. So, you know, I wanted to take an opportunity to load up the editor software that comes with this unit so that you can actually tweak the sounds right on your laptop or PC computer and not have to worry about trying to read the small screen and work with the knobs. It's a lot more convenient to go through the software. So I thought we'd kick the tires today, load up a couple of patches, tweak a couple of knobs, and just see what the unit has to offer under the hood. So let's jump right into it. Let's see what this thing could do, kick the tires a little bit, and see what there is. Once we load up the software, you'll see that on the left-hand side of the screen is where all of our patches reside. And if we scroll down, we can see the list of patches right here. You can see that there are quite a few. These are the user patches. If we click on factory, then we see all of the factory patches. Now, when we look at the right-hand side of the software, you can see that at the very top here, we have the name of the patch that we're working with. So whatever we select here will show up at the very top. So there's never confusion about which patch you're using. It's highlighted on the left and it's at the very top of the screen. So this is our signal chain and it goes from left to right, and you have blocks in here, 9 different blocks that you can use to load up different types of effects. Every single patch in this unit has a wah selected in the first position here. It is that way by default. So on the actual physical unit, you have an expression pedal. That expression pedal controls the wah as well as the volume, and when the wah is not engaged, it defaults to volume. So right now, if I actually press the pedal up and down, you can see that it's acting as a volume pedal. Now, if I turn on the wah, and I can do that 2 different ways. I can actually click right here on the wah and turn that on, or I can actually just press down on the expression pedal on the unit until the pedal light goes on the unit, and you can see it is also engaged on the software. So right now, I'm going to be using the expression pedal as a wah. So you can see the wah sounds very nice. If I want to turn off the wah, I just need to press on the expression pedal till the light goes off and it's returned to the volume pedal. Okay, so the amp that we selected here is a Brit 800, which is basically emulating a JCM 800, and you heard how that sounds. And right beside that, we have an EQ pedal followed by a noise gate. If we right click on the EQ pedal, you can see it's a 6-band EQ. And if I click that, we can pull up the actual EQ pedal here and see the settings directly on it. Now you'll see that the EQ pedal is basically emulating a Boss EQ, a very well-known type of EQ pedal. You don't have to go crazy with the EQ, but you can definitely boost the signals and cut the signals to your liking, and we can do that in many different ways just by playing with different frequencies. For example, if I do something like that as opposed to this, you can change the sound drastically depending on what you're trying to do with it, right? So in this particular case, I'm using a room reverb. Now, if I turn that off, you'll see the difference there. Very dry, as opposed to this. And if I wanted to, I can pump up that level even further. Now for the reverb, we have a couple of different selections that we could make here. And if we just right click on the pedal, you can see that we have room, hall, plate, and spring. In this case, I'll just show you what plate sounds like. It's a very different type of sound. Has a lot more high end. Obviously, this is way too pumped up, so we'll just reduce that a little bit. Let's go back to noise gate for a second here. Now, I mentioned at the very top of the video that I'm using a guitar with single coils, and normally single coils do have hum, but you can see that it's pretty quiet right now, and that's because the noise gate is on. If I turn this off, you can see that there's quite a big difference in noise. So I like to use the noise gate, turn it on, and basically dial back the sensitivity till I start hearing some noise. And if I don't hear noise, even better. But I try and keep it to the point where I'm just starting to hear a little bit of noise, and then maybe just give it a couple of notches more. So I don't want to overblow the noise gate effect and really clamp down too hard. All right. Okay, so let's take a little closer look at the actual EQ of the amplifier here. We can see we have gain, master, bass, middle, treble, and presence, just like you would have on your amplifier. And you can even turn off the amplifier here. There's even a power switch, and if I click that, well, the amp is removed from the signal chain. If I turn that back on, we can hear it again. All right. And one other thing that we can do here is we can actually click on the actual cabinet, and it'll bring up a drop-down menu with a whole bunch of other user cabinets that we can choose from. Another 25, in fact. And then we can even load some user selected cabinets through IRs. Okay, so in this case, for example, if I wanted to go with something maybe a little more modern sounding, I don't necessarily have to use the Marshall cabinet. I can actually use something else. And let's say I want to go with the HBE, which stands for the Harry Brown I, which is a Friedman cabinet. It would sound like this. So as you can see, it's a much darker sounding cabinet. And if that is not enough, you can actually also click on the microphone here, and then you can have another 4 different types of microphones that you can choose from in case you want to have a brighter sound or something a little different. You actually have another 2 dynamic mics and 2 condenser mics. So if I select the SM57, which is pretty much industry standard, it would sound like this. So as you can see, it introduces a little bit more of the highs as opposed to the previous mic that we were using. So by selecting different types of amps, cabinets, and microphones, you can tailor that sound. And on top of all of that, you have the EQ to work with, so you can do a whole lot, okay? Let's go very quickly and select a clean sound. We spent quite a bit of time on a dirty, more driven sound. So let's go into something that sounds a little bit cleaner. And in this case, it's a deluxe clean, which looks to me like a Fender Deluxe, okay? So let's hear what that sounds like. Now that's a very beautiful clean sound. Although it's a combo that's appearing right here, you still have the ability of changing the cabinet. So if I wanted to, I can just click on the cabinet here and choose something else. So let's say I want to go with a Mesa Boogie type cabinet instead. I'm still using the Deluxe Clean as the amplifier, but the cabinet is going to be different. So let's hear what that sounds like. Not a huge difference in sound, but it is slightly different than the default that we were working with before. So let's, just for giggles, take something that is pretty different here. Let's go with a Greenback 412. Now this is not typically used with a deluxe reverb. Let's hear what that sounds like. Interesting. And let's just select one more. All right, so let's go back to the first one we started with, and let's change the microphone on this guy to the condenser here. Let's change it over to the 57. Or let's change it over to the dynamic. All right, now in this case we do have a reverb selected, and it is a spring reverb. Okay, so we can change the decay on the spring reverb here and just make it a little bit more subtle. If we wanted to make the decay very long, let's go with a stereo chorus, because that's going to sound really beautiful. So if we play with the width and the rate, or the intensity, we have some pretty beautiful sounding modulation effects at our disposal. Let's go into a pan delay. Everything's pretty much at 12 o'clock right now. We'll just, for fun, just randomly change that up a little bit. Let's hear what that sounds like. So you should be able to hear with this effect the pan going left to right, very beautiful. So obviously if you take that and turn on the chorus and use both at the same time, let's bring the intensity down. Let's do this instead. Beautiful sound, right? This is where I feel the effects unit shines with the clean sounds, because often you can get these multi-effects units that sound really, really good with the overdriven sounds, but kind of drop the ball when it comes to the clean sounds. In this case, you don't see that. It's beautiful. Before we go to something else here, let me just show you what the distortion or overdrive pedals can introduce in terms of some drive. So this is a very clean sound, but let's say we wanted to introduce a little bit of dirt here. We can put in a blues driver, turn that on, and that would sound something like that. Let's change the reverb here. Just let's put in a room reverb instead, and we'll just do that, and let's see what that sounds like. But let's go back to the actual. Now, if you want that classic tube screamer sound, you can do that as well. So you can definitely take a nice clean sound that we started with, which was this, and introduce a bit more dirt by using that. Very nice indeed. Let's go into a transistor type sound. So this sound is supposed to be a Roland Jazz Chorus 120. Another very beautiful clean sound based on a transistor amplifier this time. I'll go with the stereo chorus once again, keep it very clean, and here we have the ping pong delay, so I'll change that and I'll go into a tape echo this time just so I can make you hear what that sounds like. Now you'll notice with the tape echo, the repeats deteriorate. They don't sound as pristine. So if we go in here and go with the digital delay, you'll see the repeats do not have that degradation of sound. So you can have some pretty nice very nice digital delay sounds. And in this case we're using a reverb which is a large hull, and you can see that we do have quite a bit of ambient sound. We can bring that up and bring the liveliness up as well, and maybe just bring the decay down a little bit. So even after I cut off the sound, so let's see if we do something crazy here and take the cabinet on this and change it to something else and see how that would work. If we would do something really crazy, maybe put in a Brit 212, which is more of a blues breaker style cabinet. So it definitely loses that nice clean high end. Now let's take, as you can see, this sound needs quite a bit of noise suppression, so we're going to do that right away. So this is the Santana sound based on the Mesa Boogie. This is the Mark I, and let's see what this sounds like. Very loud, so let me take the volume down a bit on this one so that we don't go crazy. So you can see this one is not as pristine clean as the other one, but we are running an effects unit in front of this, which is the booster. So let's turn that off and see what happens if we're not using the boost. See, it's quite a bit cleaner. It still has some bite. Right, now if we introduce the booster back into the channel, so So there's quite a bit more gain. I'm going to just dial the gain back a little bit. Choose something else. Let's maybe look at something crazy like the muff distortion. This one obviously is more of a fuzz type sound. Very typical of what you would get from a muff. And let's change that over to something else. Let's go to the morning drive and see what that would give. Pump up the drive and see what happens there. We can use something else here. Maybe we can do the red distortion, which is more of an actual distortion as opposed to a drive pedal. All right, that's enough of this. Let's choose one last effect here. Let's go to something a little bit more higher gain. This is the Steve Vai Crying M sound that we have loaded up here, and in this particular sound it's going to be more of a something geared more to that sort of sustained crying lead. Very nice sound. We can always go with something else in terms of a cabinet by clicking here, going, maybe if we go with the slow, which is a Soldano cabinet. More of a focused, darker sound. So the way I captured the sound from this unit for the recording is I went through the USB output right into my laptop, and my voice was being captured by a microphone on my desk. So chances are you will probably notice some fan noise in the background of the video. I just want to point that out to you guys. That is not noise coming from the unit. That's actually the fan on the CPU of my laptop that was just working very hard to record the video and the sound at the same time, okay? So I hope this video gives you a better idea of what you can do with the editing software that comes with the MG300. As I said at the beginning of the video, I'm pretty impressed with this little unit, especially with its clean sounds. It does a lot really, really well. I'll do a full review on the pros and cons of this unit. After using it for a while, I feel confident that I can give you all of the good and bad points of this unit, which will be coming up shortly on my channel as well. So please stay tuned for that. Hey, if you like the content that we're producing here on a regular basis, please consider subscribing. Hit the little bell icon so you'll be notified whenever we post new videos. That's it for now. Stay tuned. There'll be more stuff coming your way right here on Addicted to Gear.